It is early November 2000, and our youngest daughter, Gail, called Donnie, my husband, and me to tell us that Marshall had just proposed to her. We are so happy for her. He is a wonderful young man who she met 5 years ago in law school. It didn't matter that their backgrounds were entirely different. Marshall grew up in an apartment building on the Upper East Side of New York. He went to private schools, he was Christian, and his family came over on the Mayflower. Our family, on the other hand, was from the suburbs of Chicago, in a home, went to public schools, were Jewish, and our family, who left the shtetls of Lithuania, came over a steerage class through Ellis Island. Difference didn't matter because these two wonderful young kids had identical values. They believed in the importance of family, public service, and caring for people who are really in need around the world. But more importantly, they were madly in love. I, the mother, only want to give these very accomplished, worldly, but really down-to-earth kids the perfect wedding. And how do you plan a perfect wedding? You plan a wedding that they want to have. They first tell us they want to get married in the Conservancy Garden in Lincoln Park, in Manhattan, in Central Park. This is very special because Marshall's mother, who is a noted landscape architect of public gardens, designed this garden. It was her very first commission. Okay, then they tell us that they want to have the reception for the wedding at the absolute opposite end of Manhattan, down in Soho, in the Puck Building. The Puck Building is an iconic building that had once been a printing house, but now had wonderful event space. We didn't care that it was raw space. The caterer would have to bring everything in, from the toilet paper to the garbage cans. But Gail and I would at least have the opportunity to do the decor. We would pick the dishes, we would pick the chairs, we'd pick the tablecloths, we'd pick the flowers, we'd pick the lightings. We would have a wonderful time. Gail and Marshall also decided that they wanted to have the prenuptial, the party before the wedding, in a very fun place in Chinatown. Everything is great. Early on, I get a phone call from Marshall's mother, Lyndon, who said that they would like, she and her husband, would like to do the flowers for the wedding. I said, wonderful, and I groaned inwardly, because we know the flowers do the ambience of the wedding, and the tone. I have no idea what she has in mind, but again, very generously, she said she would like Gail and me to do them with her. We decide on low, full bouquets of flowers that would be done in what I had not known before was the New York autumn colors. Pale purples, pinks, blues, and whites. And we'd have tiny little votive candles around it. Very stylish, low-keyed, which fits our kids who are getting married, but very romantic. Okay. I, which you do not know, have planned a billion events in my lifetime, and I know that if you pay attention to detail, you do a lot of pre-planning, and you hire the best purveyors, you are going to have the perfect wedding. Okay. Months go by, it's winter, it's spring, it's summer, everything is on schedule, and now it's September. Okay, the first bomb drops, and I mean a bomb. It is 9/11. I do not have to tell any of you what 9/11 brought. The Puck Building, where the party is going to be, is in spitting distance of the Twin Towers. The wedding is going to be 11 days later. We have no idea what the next week is going to bring. Okay. But the unimaginable then happens. 9/12. Donnie's mother, age 93, passes away on 9/12. So we had all been mourning, 3,000 people. Now we as a family are mourning one. Judaism, you don't put off funerals and you don't put off Shiva, the time of mourning. Gail and Marshall are in New York. The planes are not flying. They get in their car. They drive 18 hours nonstop to Chicago to be with the family. And then they get back in their car and drive 18 hours back to New York. Okay? We have another problem to deal with. Chinatown is shut down. Where are we going to have the prenuptial dinner? What places are open that can serve 80 people at the last minute? We get that solved. We actually find another Chinese restaurant. That is the end of the week. We get to Monday and Tuesday, and it's Rosh Hashanah. And if you do not know, that is the Jewish New Year. We are in temple. Wednesday comes, and the caterer calls and says, what is the number count from a wedding? And I say, I don't have a clue. Our Chicago friends haven't made up their minds so that I could actually get on an airplane. The people in New York, a lot of them had other plans, had said no to the invitation for the wedding. Suddenly they're in New York and can come. Okay. Thursday, our family flies to New York. On Friday, I get a phone call saying, you may or may not see the flowers for the wedding. Okay. Saturday comes, it's the wedding day. It is a balmy, lovely day. Gail looks absolutely radiant. She has a very simple chiffon dress. She looks beautiful. The garden, as Lyndon Miller had told us was in immaculate condition. The ceremony was meaningful. Our children left nothing to chance. They even told the judge who married them what to say at the wedding. It wasn't until after the wedding that I find out that Gail, walking down the aisle, steps on her dress and tears it all around the waist and has held up her dress throughout the entire wedding. Fortunately, our party planner had needle and thread and pins. And I have to tell you, I was so happy that the wedding planner was functioning at all. Because you've got to understand that 3 years before she became a private party planner, she had been the catering manager of Windows on the World. And if you don't know that, that was the name restaurant at the top of the Twin Towers in New York, which would now crumble to the ground. And she had lost colleagues and friends. At this point, what else can happen? So Donnie and I had gotten a private limousine so that we could get to the Puck building. We were transporting all of our guests in buses. So we hop in the private limousine, we take off, and we're driving and driving. And as we're getting close to the Puck building, I realize we are driving in circles. And there are road blockages still around the Puck building. And I realize our driver either is lost or has not a clue how he's going to get us to the reception. But I know how we're going to do it. And I said to Donnie, to the driver, stop the car. I opened the car door, jumped out, took off my stiletto heels, and ran 10 blocks to the wedding with Donnie in fast pursuit behind me. We arrive at the wedding, and guess what? All of the guests are there. Nobody has a clue that the mother and the father of the bride are not there, except for the bride, who is frantic. Okay? So then, the first person to greet us at the wedding is a VIP from the Upper East Side of New York who are politically involved and privately involved with the Millers. And she says, oh, Judy, I am so thrilled to be here. And I'm thinking, I'm not so thrilled to see you. You had RSVP'd no, and I do not have a place for you at this wedding, and I know I cannot put her in the kitchen. She has to be in a VIP seat. So I get that crisis solved. And now it's time for Gail and me to look at the party room that we have worked so hard on. And we opened the door, and I don't know if any of you have had an oh my God moment. We honestly did not know if we should be laughing or crying. The flowers are on the table, the votives are on the tablecloth is there. It is beyond beautiful. But there is not one other thing in that room that we had picked out. I look at the tables. I don't recognize the dishes. I don't recognize the glassware. I don't recognize the silverware. I also say to myself, where are the little bowls of chocolate that I had requested? In place of that, in the bowls are hard candy wrapped in paper with one little piece of chocolate on top. I thought to myself, even my 4-year-old granddaughter knows that is not appropriate for a formal wedding. The chairs are mixed matched. We had planned light, soft lights. And what do we have? We have a strobe light hanging from the ceiling, going through one of those stenciled cutouts that on the floor is moving around, and we've got vines moving around on the dance floor. Okay. The piece de resistance is the wedding cake. We had a gorgeous tiered wedding cake, but this cake had a sachet of bright blue flowers bouncing down the tiers. What happened to the buttercream frosted little flowers that were supposed to be on the cake that we had paid extra for? All I could think of is, this is immortalized in all the wedding pictures. We've now lost the subtle tone of the flowers. And I said, hope the cake tastes good, because this is not a big buffet dessert. The cake is the dessert. Okay. So Gail and I have a little conference, and we decide we're going to keep our mouths shut. At best, the guests are going to not have any idea what's going on, or worse, they'll think we have terrible taste. But, that is what it is, because this is beyond absurd. So, all the guests are invited in for supper. Gail and Marshall have their first dance. Donnie gets up and he says the welcome, and then I stand up because I know what I have to say to everybody. And I have to explain to this audience, half of whom are not Jewish, that in Judaism, weddings are mitzvot. They are considered a commandment. They are a priority. Even if somebody dies in the morning, a wedding goes on, because this is the future. This is a continuation of life. After the wedding, I cannot begin to tell you how many people came up to me to say thank you. But I can tell you, this was the most joyous wedding you can imagine, because after 11 days of mourning, I gave everybody permission to have a good time. So it's now 23 years later. Our kids are still madly in love, and I, who is the mother of the bride, have to tell you, I gave the most perfect wedding.